which of the following represents a function? Okay, so here we are looking at equations, right? So now how do we know if an equation represents a function or not? Now again, as a recurring theme, okay, paulit-ulit in the previous videos, that for a function, dapat yung x, hindi uulit. Okay, dapat isa ang, is for a value sa domain, dapat isa lang ang kanyang partner sa y. Okay? Hindi pwede na dalawa, hindi pwede tatlo. Dapat isa lang for one value of x. Okay. And that's also what we're going to apply here. Okay. So let's consider itong first example. A. So y equals 2x plus 1. So let's look at this equation. Y equals 2x plus 1. For one value of x, let's say I'll substitute a value for x, because x is a variable. X could be any number that I want. Okay, so if I change that into say 5 or 6, it will give me a number for y, right? Say 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. So if x is 5, y will be 11. So now, it is obvious, and you can see that, that for one value of x, it will only give you one value for y, right? So if you change this, again mo siya ng value number, it will give you one value for y, just one value for y. Okay? So that means that this is a function, right? Kasi yan yung requirement. Yan yung requirement for a relation to be a function. Dapat, for one value of x, isa lang din ang ibibigay niya for y. Which is, itong first equation, yan yung nangyari, right? If you substitute any value for x, it will give you just one value for y. How about the second example? This one. Say, if I substitute one value for x here, it will also just give me one value for y. Okay? So, isa lang, right? If I change x into, say, 5 or 0 or 3, it will just give me one value for y. Okay, so for example, if x is 0, right, so if x equals 0, then what we'll have would be y equals, so this one is 0 squared, which is 0, and then you have minus 2 times 0, which is also 0, plus 2, and that gives you positive 2. So for one value of x, it only gave you one value for y. So that's a function, right? So that's why itong second example, this is an example of a function. Okay? Because sa isang value ng x, meron kang isang value ng y lang. Okay? So that's a function. How about this? Third example. X squared plus y squared equals 1. So tingnan natin if this is a function. Okay? So what I will do is, i-rewrite ko muna siya into something like y equals. I-isolate ko ang y. Okay? So what will happen is, I'll use APE. This one goes to the right, so that means y squared equals 1 minus x squared. Okay, and then I can write this as, I'll take the square root of both sides, so you get y equals positive negative the square root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, that's how you isolate y. Okay, kasi meron siyang squared, then dito you have to put plus minus. Okay, plus minus. And here, it's very obvious that for one value of x, it will give you two values of y. Because you have this plus minus, right? So kahit anong value ng x ilagay mo, you will have two values for y. Positive and a negative. And that means that this is not a function. Okay? Kasi nga, bawal siya na sa isang value ng x, dalawang output. Which is the case dito sa equation na ito. Okay? Kasi meron kang plus or minus. Dalawa yan siya. Okay? So that's not a function. Now, the fourth example, so you have y equals square root of x plus 1. Now here, wala mong plus minus na nakalagay, right? So, that is it. So, yan lang. And, obviously, for one value of x, isa lang din ang value ng y. Isa lang ang output. Okay? So, this is a function. And last but not the least, you have this one. Still, if you put, say, values, substitute values for x, it will give you just one value for y. Okay, for example, if x is 0, say x equals 0, then what you have would be y equals 2 times 0, which is 0, plus 1 divided by 0 minus 1, which is minus 1, and that gives you negative 1. So for one value of x, it only gave you one value for y. Okay, hindi katulad dito na for one value of x, dalawa ang value ng y, which is positive and negative. So that's how you know that an equation is a function.